Okay, so now in this example, we're going to do a region that is bounded by two curves, the graphs of two different continuous curves. So in this case here, we've got this curve, so it's bounded by this curve, the graph of this curve and the graph of this curve. Both of these are continuous. And we want to find the centroid. So the first thing we need to do is notice we don't have an interval. So we got to find out what is the interval that bounds of the region that's bounded by these. So now you can graph the curve, right? So we know this is a parabola. And again, if you write it as negative x squared plus 1, if you just flip them around, you can see that this is a parabola that's opens downward and is shifted up 1 unit. So it looks something like that. Okay? And g of x is a straight line. So it goes, it's the identity, right? Y equals x, the identity, but it's shifted down 1. So that means instead of going through the origin, it goes through negative 1. And of course it has a slope of 1, so it's going to go through this point too. Okay, and so looking at the graph, we see that it goes through 1 comma 0. But we don't know what it goes through here. But so we know f of x is the top function and g of x is the bottom function. So that's a good thing. So we know which way we're going to subtract them, right? We always subtract top minus the bottom. So that's good. So now we just need to figure out what the other point is. We know x equals 1 is 1, but we don't know what this one is. Okay? So how do we do that? Well, we set them equal to each other, right? Find out where the two curves meet. Set them equal to each other. So we do 1 minus x squared is equal to x minus 1. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to move the x's to one side. So what do? Well, we're going to move it over here. And we get negative x squared minus x plus 2 equals 0. Okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply everything by negative 1. So I get x squared plus x minus 2 equals 0. And of course this is factorable. So this factors into x minus 1 times x plus 2, right? So two factors of negative 2 that add up to positive 1 is negative 1 and 2. So these are the factors. So that means x equals 1 and negative 2 is where the intersections are going to happen. And so there's our interval. So we know that the interval is going to be from negative 2 to 1. And so now we're ready to go. Okay, so let's figure out the mass. So again, this is going to be rho times the interval from a to b of f of x minus g of x, right? The top function minus the bottom function, dx. And so this is going to be rho times the integral from negative 2 to 1, and this is going to be 1 minus x squared minus x minus 1 dx. But we just did that, right? So we know what that is going to be. So if we simplify this, we get negative x squared minus x plus 2 dx, okay? So now we're going to integrate this. So if we integrate this, we get rho, and then this this is going to give us a negative 1/3 x cubed. And this is going to give us minus 1/2 x squared plus 2x evaluated from -2 to 1. And so now if we evaluate this, we get rho. And we're going to evaluate 1, so all of these are just going to become their coefficients. So it's just going to be negative 1/3 minus 1/2 plus 2 minus, now we're going to evaluate everything at -2. So this will become negative 1/3 times -2 cubed, which is -8, minus 1/2 times -2 squared, which is going to be positive 4. So this is going to be minus 2, right? Because we get 4 divided by 2. Okay, and then this is going to be 2 times -2, which is a minus 4. Okay, now if we simplify this, what do we get? We get here we get negative 5/6 plus 2, which is going to give us 1 1/6, which is 7/6. So that's going to be this. This piece gives us 7/6. And then over here we get what? We get 8/3, right? So we get 8/3 minus 6. Okay, and 8/3 is the same as 2 2/3. So this 2 cancels with this 2, so we actually get 2/3 minus 4, which is 3 1/3. A negative 3 1/3, right? So this is negative 3 1/3. But we're subtracting the negative, so that becomes positive. So this is going to be plus what? Plus 3 1/3, which is 10/3. And of course, this 10/3 becomes 20/6, which is rho times 27/6. Is that right? Did I make a mistake? Something's not right here. So this is negative, what is this? 5/6. Negative 5/6 plus 2 is 1 1/6. Which is 7/6, okay? And this is 8/3 minus 6. And this is 8/3, so 2 2/3 should give me 4, so it's 3 1/3, so 9 10/3. 10/3 and 7/6. Yeah, I believe this is right. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is right. Oh, wait. Oh, I see it. Okay. It is right. This is both divisible by 3. So this becomes rho and 9/2. So 9/2 rho. Okay, there we go. Okay, so now, I'm going to write that down. So 9 becomes 9/2 rho. Okay, so that's the total mass. So let's write that down. I have to move it over. So we know that m equals 9/2 times rho. So now let's do the moment of the system with respect to the x-axis. So now what we're going to do is we're going to use this formula. So it's going to be rho times the integral from a to b. And in this case, it's going to be the difference of the squares, right? So it's going to be f of x quantity squared minus g of x quantity squared over 2 dx. Okay, and again, you could pull the 1/2 out. Okay, and just deal with the difference of squares. And now what we're going to do is put it in. So now, substitute. So f of x is this. So it's going to be 1/2 rho times the integral from -2 to 1. And this is going to be 1 minus x squared quantity squared minus x minus 1 quantity squared dx. So now all we have to do is simplify, integrate, and evaluate. Okay? So let's do that. So it's going to be 1/2 rho, the integral from -2 to 1. And so this is just going to give us what? 1 minus 2x squared plus x to the 4th. And then it's going to give us minus x squared minus 2x plus 1 dx. And now I'm just going to distribute the negative here. So if I drop this, this becomes negative, this becomes plus, and this becomes negative. So all I did was distribute the negative, the subtraction, to each term. So this is minus, plus, minus. And so now I'm going to simplify this. And so this becomes 1/2 rho, the integral from -2 to 1. And so now what happens? This becomes x to the 4th. And then x squared, so minus 2x squared minus an x squared gives us a minus 3x squared. And then there's an x, right? Right. So there's an x, so that's 2x. And then the constants, we got a 1, and we got a minus 1, so the constants go away. And so that's what we're left with. And so now we're ready to integrate. So let's integrate this thing. So we get 1/2 rho. And what do we get? We get 1/5 x to the 5th minus, 1, so 3/3. So we get minus x cubed, and then we get plus x squared, evaluated from -2 to 1. Okay, so that helps a lot. Okay, now again, if you evaluate this at 1, what do you get? You get -half rho times, well, you get 1/5 minus 1 plus 1. Minus, right? And so now we're going to evaluate at -2. So this is going to become, oops, this is going to become 1/5 -2 to the 5th minus -2 to the 3rd plus -2 squared. Oops. Okay. Okay, so what happens with this? We get -half rho. Well, this is going to cancel with this one, so we get a 5th, right? So we're going to get 1/5. And what happens over here? This is going to be 1/5 times -2 to the 5th. Well, -2 to the 5th is -32, right? So this is going to be -32 fifths. This is going to become a -8, but then it's going to be +8, right? So this is going to be a +8. And this is going to be a +4. And so we get +12. Okay, so if we add all these up, what do we get? We get, well, 32 fifths is -6 2/5. Right, so if we subtract the 6 from the 12, we get 6. So the 2/5, we get 5 3/5, right? So we get 5 and 3/5. Right? And so this is going to be minus 28 fifths. And what do we get? Well, we end up getting what? 29 tenths. So we get -29/10 times rho. I believe that's, hold on a second. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's a positive. So this is 27. So that's what we get. Okay, so m sub x equals -27 tenths times rho. All right, so now let's do the last one. So now we're going to do m sub y, and that's going to equal rho times the integral from a to b And this is just going to be x times f of x minus g of x dx. And so this just becomes rho times -2 to 1, the integral from -2 to 1. Now this here, we already know, this is going to be x times -x squared minus x plus 2 dx. Okay, we know that from before. Okay? And so now if we distribute the x, this just becomes -2 to 1, and this is going to become -x cubed minus x squared plus 2x dx. And of course, if we integrate, we get rho, and this is going to be -1/4, x to the 4th minus 1/3 x to the 3rd plus x squared evaluated from -2 to 1. Okay. Okay. Okay, so now we evaluate this thing, right? So what do we get? We get rho, again, 1 is just going to give us the same thing, so this is going to give us, what, -1/4 minus 1/3 plus 1. Minus, now we're going to evaluate it at -2, so this is going to be -1/4 times -2 to the 4th minus 1/3 times -2 to the 3rd plus -2 squared. Oops. Okay. And so now what happens here? Well, this is just going to be what? This is going to be -7/12. Right? This is going to be -7/12 plus 1, which is going to give us a positive 5/12. This is going to be what? This is going to give us positive 16. So this is going to give us a negative, what? 16 divided by 4, which is a -4. And this is going to give us a -8. But this is a subtraction, so it's going to give us a positive 8/3. And this is going to give us a positive 4. Well, the -4 and the positive 4 cancel, so we're going to get 8/3 there. Okay, so now, what do we get? We get rho, and we get 5/12 minus 8/3. And so the 8/3, I'm going to make that into 12ths. So that's going to be 48 twelfths. Oh no, not 48 twelfths. That's going to be 32 twelfths. Right? 4 times 8 is 32. 4 times 3 is 12. And so now I'm going to get what? I'm going to get negative. What am I going to get? I'm going to get negative 27 twelfths times rho, which reduces to what? Because both of these are divisible by 3. So this is going to become negative 9/4 rho. And that's it. So now we got that one. So negative 9/4 rho. So now we get to finally get x bar. X bar is going to be m sub y over m, which m sub y is negative 9/4 rho over 9/2 rho. Well, the rows cancel out, and this becomes what? One half. Oh, negative 1/2. Okay, and then y bar equals n sub x over m. So that's going to be negative 27 over 10 times rho and over 9/2 rho. And of course the rows cancel out. And what do we get? This becomes negative 27 over 10 times 2 over 9. Well, the 2 divides 10, so that becomes 1 and 5. The 9 divides 27, so that becomes 9 and negative 3. And so what do we get? We get negative 3/5. And so our final answer for the centroid is located at negative 1/2, comma, negative 3/5. And we're done. All right. Let's give you your one to work on. Here's one for you. Again, just do it the same way that I did it, piece by piece, and you'll do just fine. Just make sure that you pay attention to your algebra and signs and things, because that's where students are going to make mistakes, is in the algebra, right? And in the sign mistakes. So make sure you're doing things correctly when you're solving these things. The integration usually is pretty straightforward, usually, but where students make mistakes is in the algebra. Okay, so here's one for you. So here's f of x. And g of x. So let's say we have a region that's bounded by these two curves, right? The graphs of these two curves. F of x equals 6 minus x squared, and g of x equals 3 minus 2x, okay? So, and we want to find the centroid of the area, the centroid of the lamina associated with the area bounded by these two curves. So again, you're going to do the same thing. Make sure you see what the area looks like and find the places where the two functions intersect, and then pay attention to which function is on top and which function is on the bottom. And that's it. So let me know if you have any questions. And other than that, have a great day.